This is my much loved family home, a home where I expected in future years to spend a retirement, a home that I expected to be able to enjoy my grandchildren in. Instead, as you see, this house is up for sale and I have to return to an end-terraced house on an embankment in West Bank, a house inferior in quality in every respect to the home I'm being forced to leave because of negligence on behalf of Network Rail, who have not managed their vegetation and allowed my garden in West Bank to become infested with Japanese knotweed, meaning that I cannot sell it. Let me take you there. The reason I have to move back to this house is that Japanese knotweed, an invasive species which does untold damage to houses, has invaded my ground from adjacent Network Rail ground. Here you see a very established plant. This is Japanese knotweed. Here you can see the infestation of Japanese knotweed in my garden. It has escaped from Network Rail. Its seeds and leaves bend over into my garden, but more importantly, it's what its roots do underneath. Even in the winter time, when this plant is dying back, as you observe now, its roots continue to grow and spread underneath the ground, causing damage to any buildings which it comes into contact with. It's doing damage to my building, and it's probably doing damage to a lot of other buildings that we don't know about at this time. This large established crop of Japanese knotweed, which has caused infestation in my garden, has also caused my house to be devalued by 20%. That is round about £37,000. It also means that I am unable to sell my house. Nobody would choose to live here under the circumstances, and no lender would grant anyone a mortgage on a property that has Japanese knotweed. Because of the potential of this plant, anyone who is within 7 metres of it should be notified. Treating Japanese knotweed is a very costly exercise, and it also can take many years to try and eradicate probably 95%, but you never know exactly what's still there because rhizomes can lie under the soil dormant for between 15 and 25 years. Mistakes happen, and I've never been someone who went along with the culture of apportioning blame. I do, however, think that when mistakes are made, it is just to put up your hand and to give a genuine apology. Say, I can understand what's happened. Say, I'm willing to learn from my mistakes and take steps to make sure that the same mistakes are not repeated. Say, I will make sure you're not suffering unnecessarily because of my mistakes, and I will compensate you for your losses. That seems reasonable to me. However, that is at a tangent from the response I have had over the last 2 months from Network Rail. Network Rail have variously denied ownership of the ground where the infestation comes from. They've informed me that they will manage their vegetation in line with the policy that they have and not seek to eradicate Japanese knotweed from someone else's land. Well, 2 months down the line, they've done absolutely nothing. They've claimed that they have only bought this piece of land 18 months ago, and therefore, due to some warped way of thinking, they're not liable for any damage. They've even suggested that the younger knotweed in my garden is the source of the infestation in their land. Pathetic! Now, I'm not one to knuckle under, although I have shed my share of tears in the last couple of months. Who wouldn't, at the prospect of having to relocate to an inferior house, suffer financial and emotional losses, and ponder the prospects of pouring more money into a house which may well swallow up all my money and give me nothing positive back in return? Network Rail, is this what you promise in your great responsibility emission statement year on year? Is this how you contribute to community well-being? Is this how you take a sense of ownership? Is this how large corporates like you invest in environmental management to make the world a better place for future generations, which you glorify and proclaim worldly about. Options are available to me, some more creative than others. I could embrace Network Rail opening up the new Borders railway line and view it as tourism and potential money-making opportunity for me. I could put my house in Bank on the map, give it a name. Jumanji has a certain kind of ring to it. Invite tourists to come and see the invasive species Japanese knotweed in its adopted natural environment, railway embankments. See for themselves how destructive it can be when allowed to escape into other people's lands and permeate their lives and eat away at their morale. I could hand out jam sandwiches to train users or use my ready supply of Japanese knotweed to make crumble and spread the love. A further option, however, is to suggest that Network Rail act within the spirit of corporate social responsibility and pay to have their vegetation and encroachment into my ground treated, put barriers and containment measures in place as a safeguard for the future, and compensate me for the financial and emotional losses I have suffered and will continue to suffer because of the poor vegetation management by Network Rail. To date, their response to my pleas for help have been ones of denial and callous disregard. A third option is to be the first person in Scotland to approach the Rocket Council and request they apply using recently passed laws for an ASBO to be taken out against Network Rail, forcing them to act within the law. Watch this space because I just might do all three.
Oh, all the money that my whole life I did spend gladly through the hands of my friends to tie up the time most forcefully, but the bottles are done